Some of us were never really cut out for going to sea. So we had to go at it the hard way. We had to be molded into sailors. And yet, some of us never got it. No matter how long we spent in that industry, we still weren't cut out for it. I'm going to call this story the third we never heard of. Stay tuned. It's pretty funny. I'm the Saipan Sailor. Welcome. All right. One day, a new third assistant engineer came on board. He was a likable guy. I liked him. He was a real nice fellow. He had narcolepsy, among other things. So, he'd be standing there talking to me, and he would nod out like that while he was talking. One day, we were taking out fuel. I had no part of the fueling operation. But during break, everybody went down to the main deck crew lounge. It was a big lounge. And that was the only place anyone was allowed to smoke during fueling. So I was down there smoking a cigar. I think it was during lunch break. And this third assistant came in and sat next to me on the couch, settee. Now the couch was up against the bulkhead. And he smoked cigarettes too, I guess. But he would sit there and he would nod out and his head would fall back and it would snap, or his head would snap back when he'd wake up, So I kept watching. Because I knew what was going to happen. Sure enough, he nodded out and his head snapped back and it hit the bulkhead like 4 or 5 times. He had to be there. One other day, we were going out on what the Navy called a sortie, and I forget what it stands for, but we were in Diego Garcia, so we'd leave the island and circle the island for about a week and pump and dump and do whatever, but we did it, I think, once a month or something. So my job was to go up on the bow, the pointy end, and stand by while they were raising the anchor with the windlass, and they were also using the bow thruster. In case something went wrong, I needed to get both those machines running. Now the bow thruster it's an impeller with a variable pitch, and it's situated inside a tunnel, which is below the water line, of course, and this tunnel runs on both sides of the bow, port and starboard. And so when they ran this, and it was electric driven, when they ran this thing from the bridge, they were able to move the front end of the ship back and forth, okay, without having to move the rear end. A lot of ships, like on the Great Lakes, the 1,000-footers, they'll have both a bow and stern thrusters, so they can do a complete 180 and just boom, do a complete 180 and go. Well, this particular time, this third assistant came up on the bow. And he was going to take vibration readings. Now, I took those readings quite often. They would come up in a monthly maintenance program. They called them PMs, preventive maintenance. Every month, a computer would spit out a list of tasks for everybody to do, and each crew member would, and officer, everybody would be assigned a bunch of tasks. They had to be completed by the end of the month. So his task was to take vibration readings on the bow thruster motor. All it was is you had this gadget that with a strap on it, you slung it around your shoulder, and it had a cable attached to it. On the other end of the cable was a little probe, and I believe it was magnetic. And so you stuck this probe where they had the other disc, nothing more than a disc. Every motor would have a disc attached to it, and that's where you stuck this probe, and you ran through the program on the gadget until it was done taking the readings. Well, he came up there, he said, "Where's the bow thruster?" And I pointed to a hatch. I said, "There you go, man. Have at it." Because I seen him with the meter around his neck, and I knew what he was there to do. So he opened a hatch and he climbed down. The bow thruster was running, and it's loud, and it's like 5 decks down, straight down, a vertical ladder. He goes down there, he takes the reading, he comes back up probably 15-20 minutes later, and no sooner did he stick his head out of the hatch, he looked down, he went, "Oh, shit." He dropped the disc, the probe at the end of the cable, detached itself somehow, and it dropped all the way down to the bottom of the bow thruster room. So we had to climb all the way back down there and look for it. He came back another 10 minutes later. He said he couldn't find it. And I said, "Oh man, you're going to have a hard time explaining this." The next day, he told me they'd accused him of sabotaging the whole thing. I had to chuckle, you know. Guys like him got picked on so much. I remember him telling me one day that he was part owner of a hotel in Angeles City, not Los Angeles, Angeles City. And he told me which hotel it was, and I knew which hotel it was, because I used to live there, and at the time I was living there. And he said that he actually lost money on it every month. He'd have to pay in. I said, "Well, why do you still have part ownership? Why don't you just sell your part, get out of it?" He said, "Well, I got a place to stay when I go there," which made sense. Well, at the end of that trip, we were in Thailand on a military exercise, and a bunch of us went ashore that night and didn't come back the next morning. We got written up, but it was worth it. And I said farewell to the third assistant, and I think that's the last time I was on that ship, to tell you the truth. I didn't go back. Well, folks, I think this may be the final chapter of The Last Gypsy. So I want to wish you all clear skies and calm seas. I'm the Saipan Sailor.